Welcome everybody to the next episode of KapVista Klips. Today we have David from Gigmor and you all know Julia from KapVista. How are you guys?
Really good. How about yourself, Daniel?
Good. We're out of lockdown here in Sydney, so bars are open, clubs are open. You know, we can go outside for more than an hour a day, so it's good. Living the dream.
Living the dream. It's a new type of dream this day and age, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So today we want to find a bit more about you, about Gigmor, and tell us. We want to find out about the industry because I think it's an amazing space.
Yeah, awesome. Well, happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
So let's start. What's your story? What's your background?
Okay, originally Canadian. Been down in the US for now over 20 years and become a proud dual citizen of both countries. Grew up playing classical piano, ended up majoring in English in college, but really fell in love with New York City. So I found my way to New York early in my career and really kind of was in the right place at the right time to get a job at a small company called AOL back in the mid 90s. That was obviously a life-changing experience for me where I was playing a pretty significant role. I ended up as head of e-commerce at AOL in the birth of this industry, the birth of online technology and internet. And it was a wonderful time, learned a hell of a lot. Left there in 2001, moved out to LA, pregnant with our older son. We now have two teenage boys. And pretty much right away started a design development agency. I always kind of had the bug to be entrepreneurial. And frankly, AOL felt like we were all founders. We were all working as hard and as motivated as if we were founders. But in doing the agency, which was called, coincidentally, Troubadour Digital Media, so it had a music theme. I discovered I had a passion for starting something of my own and not just consulting and helping other people build their businesses. So I moved to guitar from piano in my teenage years, like a lot of kids, and ended up being a band leader and playing in a lot of bands along the side in every city that I lived in, which was actually quite a few. So really, I'd learned from the musician side what it takes to find gigs at a club, what it takes to promote those gigs and try to bring a crowd. And so as I was looking for a business to start, the more I learned about live music, that it was a very antiquated, low-tech industry, but a very large one that really was in need of a centralized technology platform that would make it easier for everybody to connect. So I came at it from the musician side where I wanted to help musicians find gigs, especially paying gigs and good gigs. Along the way, we've learned what it takes to run a venue. And we realized they have a lot of challenges on their own. Most venues are run more like a small business. They're also very low tech. They book out of their email inbox. So it just struck me that there was an opportunity to create something that didn't exist that would, if you want to call it, disrupt, but really make an industry that's $50 billion worldwide industry more efficient and really help grow the business. I think there's an Airbnb effect where the easier it is for people to connect, whether it's artists finding gigs or venues finding artists, there's an unused capacity that we're starting to address right now. So that's really kind of the quick summary, so if you will.
Awesome. So tell us more about the team at Gigmor.
So we're I'm really proud of the team that we've got. We're 6 full-time and 2 part-time right now. Everybody who's with us right now, with the exception of a recent business development person, really has the makeup, the personality makeup and the character that they demonstrated by basically hunkering down and helping us survive through COVID. As you know, growing a startup, is not for everybody, but imagine you're experiencing 25, 30% a month over month growth, and then suddenly a world-changing, global pandemic hits and shuts down the entire industry. So everybody at Gigmor has an enormous amount of passion for what we do, and my co-founder Tracy, I met at AOL, so we worked together for a long time, and everybody was either been a musician or worked in the music business and seen the opportunity that we're presented with and what we're trying to do. So we have really strong players at every level, and as I said, they have the right personal makeup to have survived the war we just went through and really reboot our growth.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so where have you got to so far with Gigmor? Tell us about the traction, the sort of clients, the partners. What's the milestones that you've hit?
So we've grown to about 65,000 artists, most of them in the US and Canada. We have about 3,000 venues. We actually had an earlier incarnation as a musician matching site, which really was part of a master plan to start this marketplace. But if you start a marketplace in live music without any artists or any venues, good luck to you, because it's not only going to be hard, but virtually impossible to do that. Right. So we grew to about 45,000 musicians and bands by creating this musician matching site that essentially helped bands find an extra player or helped people who wanted to join a band find a band. So since then, obviously, we've grown by about 20,000 artists. But when we launched the marketplace, which was a brand new site, we had 0 venues. So over the last 3.5 years, we've grown to those 3,000 venues. We've grown organically and by using paid search on Google. Our estimate is pre-COVID, about 5,000 bands or bookings went through the system. Those are kind of the biggest milestones. Our sweet spot is indie bands who are playing original material, who are aspirational. They want to make it, whatever the definition of that is, but they want to grow their career. So while we do have wedding gigs listed on the platform and cover bands and DJs, our strength has been those kind of indie artists and the venues who like to book them. So essentially those venues are often people who are very passionate themselves. They probably could make better money by having a DJ every night, but they believe in what artists are doing. They love live music. So we have venues in LA, like the Mint, Harvell's, the Whiskey A Go Go, the Viper Room. So luckily, being located in LA has helped us kind of get a leg up and get started by basically being able to go down the block and meet these people and show them what we're trying to do. So we are on the venue side, though, what we are kind of in the major markets in the US, LA and New York, but we get new venues joining all the time we just had a smaller bar in Baltimore join yesterday, looking for talent, as obviously they're trying to come out of COVID. So hopefully that's answers your question.
It's the perfect time. I think especially being here in Australia, the live music scene is dead. You just don't find venues that have live music. And now that COVID has come and we're out of lockdown now, people are looking for that live music venue.
Right.
It's just a different experience, and sure. that's what they're looking for. So I think now's the perfect time, especially that everybody's coming out and they want to, I think for us, our Christmas and summer is going to be big in terms of live venues, but in the US, come next summer, I think it's going to be, record breaking, because everybody wants to be out. They've been, they haven't enjoyed that summer.
Been deprived.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and we've seen that, and in May here, we went from, basically being dormant to starting to see really strong growth. Clearly, what happened in the US with Delta affected that, and so people we're eager to get out and socialize and do all the things, that now we understand the value of it. Stuff you took for granted, like just going to a restaurant or going to a bar to see a band. When you're deprived of that, suddenly you realize how important it really is and how much of a part of life it is. But yeah, what the opportunity for us around what happened with COVID, and even this sort of half-hearted start up, if you will, with Delta, is that a lot of the old models have broken. A lot of people's normal ways of operating their business or being an artist have gone by the wayside, and so it's not exactly a blank slate, but it really creates a lot of opportunities for us to go in and serve a need for people as they're trying to reboot, as they're trying to restart their businesses. So now we've created a promoter side of our business we call Gigmor Presents, which sounds exactly what it is. And instead of going to a bar and saying, hey, we have this network of talent that you can use to discover and book talent, we're going to them and saying, hey, give us a night in your calendar. I see December 9th is wide open. Give us that night, and Gigmor Presents will come in and bring 3 or 4 indie artists. We'll take out the night, and it solves a big problem for them. Then they go like, oh man, well, you got anything on November 12th? Suddenly you realize that there's a lot of gaps in their calendar. And, before COVID, that really wasn't the case, where they had kind of got their calendar filled up. They had a pipeline going. Now they don't. And some of the promoters and the other people that they worked with aren't here anymore. They're not around. They didn't survive. So we find that has really been a great opportunity for us to get some traction, to kind of, if you will, get our foot in the door, and then we can market other services like our newly launched ticketing platform. Because if you go to a venue and you say, hey, we're a new ticketing company, sign up today, they're overwhelmed with solicitations like that. But if you go and you say, oh, well, we solved these problems for you in bringing in artists and using Gigmor Presents. Oh, but by the way, we do use our own ticketing for those Gigmor Presents nights. So it's kind of a great loophole in their existing ticketing contracts. But down the road, we have an opportunity through these relationships and through solving these problems to cross-sell and market other services.
Yeah, awesome.
Gotcha. Super interesting. Okay, well, diving a little bit into, the industry aspect, based on your client base, how is this industry different, than it was 5 years ago? And where do you see Gigmor going?
Well, as I said at the beginning, it's a kind of a low-tech, antiquated kind of business. Right. I think that's been in part tied to the age of people who are the more senior people in live music. So if you have a talent buyer in their 50s who's been at a club since 1972 or whatever, they have their ways of doing things. They may not be efficient, but they're kind of ingrained habits. What we're seeing, even really since we launched this site, is there's a younger generation coming in. The talent buyers, the older talent buyers are kind of retiring or moving on or outsourcing, the talent buying to younger people who go, I don't know why this hasn't existed forever. It's a natural for them to use their phone to book or to use their phone to find gigs. So there's definitely kind of an adoption curve that's gone on where there's a much more openness to technology. Yes. I think there's another development, which is that many artists, even really pretty well-established ones, live in a kind of a DIY world. Right? Mm-hmm. The old models of a record label, trying to get a record label to sign you, and then everything was great after that, and you'd be a rock star. Now artists have realized it's like Hollywood. There's the Marvel blockbuster movies, and then there's everybody else. So now artists have learned, oh, I have to manage my own career. And so they're now much more reliant on tools and technology and services to help them do that. So whether it's music creation, is now migrated to the computer. Some of us, like the purists like me, don't love all of that, but nonetheless, they've migrated to social media to try to learn to build their fan base. Obviously, streaming platforms are their distribution strategies. So we want to be part of an artist's live music strategy. Essentially, we want to help them on the live performance side of things. So that's been a really big change. So I think those are like two really big trends that we've seen in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and you hit it on the head. To me, I was like, why? When I first heard of this opportunity, I was like, why is this not a thing yet? Like, this just seems like, like for me, it would be like a no-brainer. This should be out there. This should be thriving. So yes, I totally understand. But I started singing and playing guitar when I was like 6. I was playing in venues at 8, and I was doing the old school way. It was my parents getting the people at the VFW to let us in and get our guitars in there and start playing. So I definitely get that as well. So that's all good. But yes, bringing a centralized area for people to connect is huge in this day and age too. So let's dive a little bit into the raise. How much you're raising, what it's going to be used for, what have you raised thus far? Give us a little bit more details about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 100,000 committed from an angel investor. We're raising $2 million at an $8 million pre-money valuation. We previously raised $850,000 in angel money a couple of years ago. We have ongoing conversations with several VCs and family offices. One VC's soft circled 300,000. They're looking for another institutional investor to come in before they make that a hard commitment. We have a couple of others who said, once you get a lead investor, please come back to us. So we're getting really strong interest and response to that, and would love your guys' participation and help in that. So that's why we're talking, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so I think now that you've explained it, and a lot of the people we've spoken to, if they don't understand the industry, it may just be, it's a marketplace. It's not for us. But when you explain the industry and how it works and how it's very archaic, and I've seen it firsthand. Artists trying to book venues. My cousin has a heavy metal band, and they've toured Asia. They've toured Europe. Right, and trying to book venues, they've done it all themselves. They took on the whole role of the tour themselves instead of getting a touring manager and letting someone else do it. So trying to book something.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So on the venue side, just imagine 90% of venues, we've done research. This is not just anecdotal. Use their email inbox as their booking platform. Right.
That's exactly how it works.
So our dashboard allows you to sort and filter by things like number of times you've booked or artist rating on our platform, or simple software features like that.
So much more.
Make it so much easier. So much easier. It's and then on the artist side, there's equally big challenges. Now that we've launched ticketing too, you kind of say, well, why ticketing? Why us? Why now? Well, one thing is it's integrated nicely into the booking network so that a venue can book an artist and then migrate to the ticketing more or less seamlessly. But fans also have problems when it relates to live music. How do you discover live music near you that you would like? We all get the emails about the Stones' new tour or things like that. But what about that cool indie band that's, with 15 miles from your house or less, that would be a great experience, where you could go and just, kind of, if you want, relive your college days. So there's a big issue for fans as well. And we think that as we migrate from booking to ticketing to event promotion, that we can solve big problems for fans that aren't being solved right now either. So that's another really exciting piece of where we're trying to go in the future.
That's one of the issues that my cousin has experienced, right? So they've got a pretty decent social media following, right? So the way that they designed their tours is they would partner with other bands in a similar genre, and then they would book venues. So let's say they went to Japan. Right, and they've got a pretty decent following in Japan. right? So they put it out to social media. Hey, what cities would you like us to go into? So they asked their fans, and they got really good feedback from the fan side, right? So then they went to find venues that they could book, and it was all done by email and different time zones. So they would send an email, and they'd have to wait 4 or 5 days for a response, and then email again, and it was very clunky. And then when they actually got the venue booked, right? They put it out to their fans to say, okay, we're playing in these cities, and the fans couldn't get tickets, couldn't there wasn't a ticketing system for some of these venues, and it was just like they had to ring the club and try to put their name down and reserve a spot, and you think there had to be, and this was only 3 years ago.
Wow.
Right.
They employed my little brother to be their roadie and sort of manager and tour manager and everything else like that. Because my little brother had he's got tech experience, and he's a pretty cluey kid. And even he was saying how does this how is this still a thing?
It's like the Stone Ages.
Yeah. So from a band's perspective, from the band's perspective, from the fans' perspective, and from the venue's perspective, it makes it a cleaner solution.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And we liken ourselves, whatever the analogy you want to use. Every analogy is a little imperfect, but there's a LinkedIn component to what we're doing, where we're kind of connecting supply and demand more in a network / marketplace. But there's kind of an Uber component where it's like you need to hire a band, find the band, and book them, and then there's an Airbnb, So anyway, there's all these analogies, but they all kind of roll up into essentially providing a centralized platform that's a solution for the 3 different elements of live music: fans, venues, and bands.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to Julia and I, because we're music fans first and foremost, and Julia's much more of a musician than I am. I played a bit of piano, played a bit of guitar, but I'm not a musician anyway. But I'm fascinated by the space, and so Julia and I have known each other for quite a while. And when I interviewed her for her role at a previous company, my question to her was, and this is one of the interview questions that I asked.
Oh my God.
So if you won the lotto tonight, and let's say tomorrow you wake up and there's $10 million in your bank account, what would you be doing with yourself? My answer to that is there's 2 things that I would do. One is I'd learn to fly planes, because I'm fascinated. I've always wanted to be a pilot, except I never went down the path of the military or having $500,000, to become a pilot. The other one is I would buy a recording studio. I'm not a musician in any way. I can play piano, I can play guitar, but I'm not a musician, but I'm fascinated about watching artists work. So I would buy a recording studio just to sit in the corner and watch talent work. So, with a platform like yours, it just gives music fans an avenue to sit back and watch artists, create history.
What was Julia's answer?
I think it was to be a rock star.
That's what I figured.
I said I want to be a rock star.
Yeah.
And this is
my answer
oh my God.
My answer would be to be doing exactly what I'm doing. I love what we're doing. I love this space. Ever since I went to my first concert, I've loved live music, being a musician. God, yeah. So anyway, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd be happy to have money in the bank, but I'd be doing what I'm doing.
Right. Giving people that experience of music is just something that, I use music as therapy nowadays. I grab my guitar and I do my thing, and it's able to connect to me in a way that other people may not understand. But there is a thing that music does to the human soul. And it's amazing. And giving that experience to people is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the satisfaction, we had a Gigmor Presents night at the Mint 3 weeks ago now, maybe almost a month ago. I tell you, the feeling of walking into the bar, there were 120 people there. There were 3 different artists. every artist came up and they were so grateful. They were so happy to be there.
Oh,
Every
awesome.
single person in that bar, they were there till, midnight. The bar was super happy. And just the idea, we created this out of nothing. We made this night happen and created this experience for all these people. It was tremendously rewarding.
And
so
they're never
next
gonna
week
forget
we're at Harvell's next week. And looking forward to that too. So yeah, it's a fun business. It's a interesting business. It's a challenge. Every marketplace has its challenges, but we embrace it.
Yeah.
And down the road, someone's going to do this. It's a natural, just like we've been saying. This industry is in such need of it, so it's going to be us. We did. That's what's got us through the tougher times, where it's like, no, someone's going to do it, so it's going to be us.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, thanks for jumping on this with us on this episode. Anybody who's watching this, if you want to get more information about Gigmor, or if you want to talk to David, let Julia or myself know, and we can make an introduction. For me, being a music fan, I'm fascinated with the way that tech and music can intertwine. Live music, especially where I am, must make a comeback. I'm dying for it. Even if it's just one man and woman with their guitar playing in the corner, acoustic. It's
sometimes those are the best.
Yeah,
those are the best experiences.
It makes the night better. So I'm a passionate about space. I like what you're doing, and I can certainly see the positives there, and the traction you've got is incredible. So we're going to share this around to our network and connect you with people we know, because I think like you said, someone's going to do it. You've already got the traction there. You've already got the venues. You've already got the artists. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, great. Well, love working with you guys. Thank you for all that, and look forward to talking to people in your network about what we're doing and sharing more details.
Yep, perfect.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Take care.